latest episode of my Knitting and Creative podcast. My name on Instagram is Orchid's Heart and I'm coming to you from Birmingham in England. And I wanted to share with you a special episode today about autumn or fall inspired knits. These are all things that I've made before, that I wear loads or really like, especially at this time of year when it starts to get a bit colder. So I've been enjoying lots of these kind of autumn inspiration videos lately. I think most people are showing the things that they want to knit, which I'm going to do as well, but not quite yet. But I thought, wouldn't it be great to talk about things I've already knit in the past, because sometimes we get caught up in like the new things, the new projects, and don't always reflect on the things that we've made in the past that we love using. So that's what I'm going to do. I did record this yesterday already, but it was still really hot. And I wasn't really in the autumn mood, and I was also really hungry through the whole thing, so I don't think I was in the best frame of mind. And I think I was a bit grumpy to watch, so I'm re-recording. I've eaten a lot of snacks. The heat wave as of today seems to have stopped. It is still warm, which is why I'm not wearing any cardigans. I think it's about 25 degrees, which is normal England summer weather, not necessarily September. Although our Septembers can sometimes be a bit freakishly warm, but not as warm as they were for the last week. It was 33 degrees in London on Sunday when I was working there, and it was awful. 33 degrees is not something that you want when you're working in London in September, or any time of year, to be honest. So I've actually really enjoyed today working from home in the rain. It's a little bit darker in here than it was yesterday, this time yesterday, so I'm hoping that you'll still be able to see things as well. I mean, if you're hearing me say this, then you've obviously got the second version rather than yesterday's brighter, hotter version. But I feel like this all adds to the mood a bit more. I can finally see like leaves turning colour outside, they've got the red berries on the trees, it looks really autumnal. So yes, feeling the mood, feeling the mood. So I'm going to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share smaller knits and then end with bigger knits. So this isn't everything I've knit that I wear in the autumn, to be honest. There's probably a couple of weeks where I feel like I'm in a transitional season, and then I just get bloody cold for the rest of the year. And then I'm cold until spring comes. So I will end up wearing everything. But I was looking at my projects the other day, and there's definitely some that I feel are more autumnal and maybe some that are more wintry. So I'm kind of having a few weeks now where I'm really thinking about autumnal knits, but it won't be long probably until I start thinking about more wintry knits. I have one quite big project in mind that I want to start soon, which feels more wintry because of its colours. So these are all projects that are quite earthy and brown in colours, not too heavy, quite lightweight, for that transitional period of time. So I'm going to start with my favourite thing, and that's socks. And I do have some notes, which I will refer to if I need to, but I probably won't, to be honest. So all socks I think are autumnal, but I picked out these two because they seem especially autumnal to me. And so the first pair is a pair that I have worn a lot, so it'd be no surprises if you can see what's on my t-shirt, but they have mushrooms on. So these are the Magic Toadstool socks by Stone Knits. I've knit mine predominantly in Lang sock yarn. The red and the white is random yarn. I actually don't think it is sock yarn. I bought some like mini balls of yarn, which I think I meant for crocheting those little animal things that begin with an A that I can't pronounce. Brume? I don't know. From my local yarn shop, because I saw the pattern I wanted to cast on immediately, and my local yarn shop doesn't have a big range, so that's what they had, without having to buy an entire 100-gram ball of those colours in a sock yarn. But the taupe colour and the ochre colour are Lang sock yarns, and they're a yarn I've used quite a few times because they come with a reinforcement thread for the heels and toes, and they make for really robust socks. It is a superwash nylon blend, But yeah, I find them very hard wearing, and I don't mind the feel of it. The pattern doesn't have half a foot in a different colour. That's because I ran out of the taupe, because I used a little bit of the taupe in another pair of socks. But 50 grams isn't really enough to do a longer leg pair of socks for me anyway. And I think, judging by the look of it, maybe I used the ochre on the heel with the taupe thread, or I used the taupe yarn with the ochre thread. I can't really tell which is more dominant. But yes, so I love these socks. Mushrooms obviously very autumnal. I love anything with a mushroom on, especially if it's the red and white one, which begins with an A, I think. For someone who loves mushrooms, I actually don't know very much about them. I just think they're really pretty. I'm sorry. I would learn more about mushrooms, but I'm actually really afraid to go foraging for them. And I did promise my mother I never would, because she's worried about me eating a poisonous one and dying. And if I'm honest, so am I, because it can happen to experts. So if it can happen to experts, it could happen to me. But anyway, tangent. So yes, I love this pattern. I do think that my colour choice, you can't really see the contrast ochre on the brown that well. So I feel like I probably could do a better colour combo. They are obviously showing signs of wear because I have worn them so much. But yeah, I will continue to wear them. I love them. And I'm actually knitting another pair of mushroom themed socks at the moment, and that is something I will share in my projects that I want to knit this autumn, even though I've already started, but autumn has, well, September started, autumn hasn't. I think autumn technically starts in a couple of weeks, but I've started my autumn knitting. The next sock pattern I wanted to share is this one. So this is the Taiga sock, I think it's called, by Larkspur Knits. Mine look very similar in colours to the sample pair. The only modification I made is that hers, the heel flap starts right after the colour work. I've put a bit of a gap in because I wanted to be able to see the trees above my boot cuff. Now I've only worn these a couple of times because I think I finished them last autumn and I wanted to take some pictures, and by the time I got around to taking nice pictures, I think it was spring, so I held off wearing them because they felt really autumnal and winter to me. And I was looking at them the other day, and I've decided I want to wear these to Rhinebeck this autumn because I'm going, probably for the only time in my life, and so I'm going to save them for Rhinebeck. So I knit these in, the main colour is sock yarn by Nervus Fibre called Haar, and then the contrasts are by Grenouille Fibre Co. Some mini skeins from a sock set. And I really love the colour that I used for the trees. So that's my two favourite sock patterns for autumn. I know I said they're patterns that I wear a lot, and I've said I've not worn these very much, but I will. I think they're stunning. And I think it fits the vibe really well. If I'm honest, I think most socks count as good autumn sock patterns. I mean, I wear woolly socks most of the year round. I've got some mohair ones on right now. But I just wanted to pick something that had like that stereotypically autumn kind of feel to them. But yeah, I think anything cosy and rustic would suit. The next thing I'm going to pick to look at is small accessories. So I've got a couple of hats and then a couple of other things. So I'm going to start with my lightest hat, which is the Braddock hat by Christina Danaee, I think. And I've knit mine in Mendip 4-ply by Marina Skua. And when I was looking at this yesterday, I've decided I don't think I ever blocked this. I think I knit this when I didn't really understand blocking. So it's quite a simple textured knit. I think it's just like knits and purls and different combinations, but it doesn't look like it's been blocked to me. So that might be something that I do at some point. And the Mendip 4-ply by Marina Skua is really, really lovely. She dyes on a predominantly white yarn fibre base and then a predominantly grey one. I think the white one's called Sunny and the grey one's called Stormy. And so these are both colours on the Stormy base because I like those types of colours. One of them's called Ore. Now I can't remember whether it's the red or the grey and what the other one's called. So I'm really sorry. I'm sure Marina would be able to help you. / I'll probably find it and stick it in the notes below. So that one. I do like this hat. For me, it's a little bit light. You know, this time of year I can wear it. It won't be long before it's not thick enough. I have thought about lining it with something. I've been collecting my mother's reject woolen and cashmere jumpers, which I'm going to purposefully felt. And I'm going to use that to line some of my hats because I'm a wimp with my ears and I just get so cold. So I thought that'd be a really nice thing to do, to make like a little skull cap lining to stick inside hats. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to do it yet as such, but I figured I can probably just whip stitch it to the inside. I don't know. If anybody has any thoughts, do share. But I thought that'd be a good autumn project. My next hat that I want to share is this one. So this is, and I'm going to say this wrong because it's in Gaelic, I think, the Foraois Hat by Petite Knit. I'm so sorry. All of these pattern names and designers will be below. And I knit this in some yarn that I bought on holiday in Wales. It was from Fibre from sheep that are not raised for slaughter. And it's undyed yarn. I really like the look of this hat. But it came out a bit small. I think I could have benefited from it being up a needle size. However, I do like the density in terms of the warmth. It's got a double folded brim, which looks really neat. If I'm honest, I think the stitches on this look really lovely and the brim looks really neat. So maybe I wouldn't have wanted to go up a needle size. I think I just needed to make a bigger hat. And it's the width that's a bit tight as well as the height, so I can't just unpick the top and add a bit of height. Unfortunately, I do still wear it. I actually wear it a lot under my bike helmet because it fits so tightly to my head that it doesn't move. And it is in that sense then quite good under my bike helmet when it gets cold. So, because unlike this next one I'm going to show you, where the brim like sticks out quite a bit, because it's knitted down, it can't move, and so it just doesn't slip. So that's been quite good for that. It's a shame that the time I wear it the most, nobody can see it. So there we go. I need a smaller head. However, then everything else wouldn't fit. My absolute favourite hat I've ever knit is this Brume Hat. This is the Brume Hat pattern by Melody Hoffman. I knit this in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter or Loft, whichever one's the lighter one, held double, so I should have brought the thicker one, and a strand of mohair. It is a pattern that's designed for unspun yarn. I think I found that the pattern was coming out really big, and so I think I might have done like a child size or something. So it has stretched out a bit widthways, but I find that I just really like it. I really like the colour, I like the brightness, like it's a bright dark red, if that makes sense. I think the marl in it makes it slightly less scary for me, because I actually don't really wear red. Because I feel like with my hair and my pinky face, I end up looking like a tomato. But I've always been very jealous of people's red hats. And I do think I look alright in this one, so I enjoy it. And it's nice and cosy. I don't like knitting rib, so I can't say that I enjoyed knitting it, and that's why initially it probably came out too short and I had to pick up and add a bit. So I do have a bit of a funky line where I did that underneath, but you know, it's folded up so you can't tell. I have knit about 5 of these, mostly as gifts, one of which I do need to unpick the top of and make a bit longer. It's definitely too small, and it's for me, so I do need to think about that. But I do find that this pattern is quite good for autumn knitting. My partner has one in Pluto Lopi and Mohair. That was the first one I knit, and I knit it using Le Bien-Aimé Mohair, lucky him, and it came out so huge I had to give it to him. It was meant for me, but it's ridiculous, it's massive. And he complains that the wind goes through it, so I'm going to line his as well with a reject jumper. And I might do that with this one, we'll see. If I do it with all of them, then all my hats will be super warm and I won't have that variety anymore. So I might do some of them, maybe. The next one, I didn't knit and I don't have a pattern for it, but I still think it's really lovely because it is one of my most worn knits. And I think there's probably a similar pattern out there. So, and this is all about inspiration, this video, so there we go. If anyone's looking at me outside, they're going to think, what the hell am I doing? So these are some fingerless mittens that my mother knit for me a few years ago. She briefly learnt how to do colour work. I was very jealous. But she found it really difficult, so she didn't really carry on with it. And so I begged her to knit me some, because she had knit some with little mushrooms on in her class she went to, and I was so jealous. I wanted the mushroom mittens, but she said it was too difficult, so she knit me these. And I love them. They're one of my most special knits because they're in my colours. They're really neat and fine, and you know, my mum made them. So I'm always so scared of losing them. But I wear them a lot around the house, when I'm working from home, when I'm knitting outside and I'm cold, in the pub. When it starts to get a bit chilly, I wear them tons. I've made myself fingerless mittens and I don't like any of them as much as I like these. So there we go. I just love them. So yes. What was I going to say? I think they're knit in Spindrift. Is that Jameson's? I think. I just think they're really lovely. She knit them flat, so they've got like some slightly dodgy seams here. And I'm sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Apologies. Yeah, she knit them flat, so there's some slightly dodgy seams. I also suspect that given the seam is in the same place on both gloves, that she did 2 lefts or 2 rights. Because if you were clever, you put the seam somewhere where you don't really see it so much. But you know, that's fine. I don't really notice and I love them. So I'm sure there's a similar free pattern out there if you look for fingerless gloves. If not, they're probably not that complicated to work out, to be honest. I'm sure I knit something similar making it up once. Like you just do some increases and then split for a thumb. I think it could be possible. And so the last small knit I wanted to share, this is one that I've made and actually not worn yet because I made it a few months ago and it's now the season, but I think I will wear it lots. And I've actually got another one here which might have just dried, so there we go, that's something I didn't have yesterday. And that is the small version of the Sophie shawl. I haven't trimmed the ends on this one yet. So this one's made using Kinross 4-ply by Katjia Yarns in the colour Scots Pine. And this one is some mystery silk, which I've tried to dye red. Didn't quite get the colour I wanted, so I might dye it again. Again, if I'm being truthful, my mum knit this one and I knit this one. I had 50 grams of silk and I said to her, because she was really bored, did she want to knit 2 small ones? Because I think these will be really good biking to work in the mornings under my jacket, just tying them a little bit like a kerchief thing before it gets really cold. Because even lately, when it's been 33 degrees during the day, in the morning when I cycle to work, it can be quite chilly. So this silk one feels lovely actually. So my mum's got one for her and one for me. I made this one, and I'm going to make another one for my mother at some point. So this one's a bit longer, so it goes around twice. But I quite like the shorter version with just one knot. I think that also looks quite nice. So yeah, that seems to me like a really good autumn project. It doesn't require very much yarn. It's very light. You can, when it warms up during the day, take it out, shove it in your bag. It doesn't take up very much space. So there we go. Because that's the thing, cycling to work. Sometimes I get to work and someone said the other day on one of these 30-degree days, why do you have a jumper on your desk? That was a bit over the top, wasn't it? And I said, no, not this morning it wasn't. Not before the sun came up. And they're like, okay. Because if you're cycling in the breeze, you do get chilly. Anyway, from small shawls to large shawls. Now again, like socks, I feel like most shawls make good autumn patterns, but this is one that I particularly like. And it was one that I really enjoyed knitting last autumn. This is the Birds of Feather Shawl by Andrea Mowry, which is a pattern that you knit using a lace weight yarn and a 4-ply yarn. I, however, knit mine entirely in 4-ply in a rustic 4-ply yarn by a daughter of a shepherd called Brume, which is undyed, and it's a combination of different local sheep to her. Just seeing whether I've got it the right way around or not. I think I have, although it is kind of reversible. And it's this unusual triangle shape, and it has like lace panels in it. And I love this because my other one is knit in like silks and superwash merino and looks really fancy. This one is just rustic and drapey and soft and just like, I think, really cozy and autumnal. You can wrap it around yourself like a shawl because of the shape. You can wear it like a scarf. You can use it as a bit of a blanket. When I was travelling last autumn in America, I used it as a pillow on the plane. I used it as a blanket on the plane. When we were in New York and it was -3, I was wearing my red Brume hat, and this wrapped around my head and neck at the same time because I was so cold. I just think it's really, really lovely and versatile. So I love it. So yeah, Birds of a Feather Shawl. It does require 2.5 skeins if you're using 4-ply yarn, because I didn't factor into the fact that the lace weight skein is obviously 600 metres, which, you know, is 1.5 meters of 4-ply. So that did mean it was kind of expensive because this yarn isn't the cheapest, but it was partially a 30th birthday present, the yarn, so it's got some quite special memories to me. Is that right? Yes, I got the yarn for my 30th birthday and then I knit it in the autumn of that year because I'm now 31. Yes, that is right. I was like, how have I managed to knit this in the autumn when it was a birthday present and my birthday's in the winter? I'm sorry you had to listen to that. But there you go. So this is like one of my favourite shawls. I probably do wear this one the most all year round, to be honest, because of the colour. It goes with everything. And I just like how big it is. Cool, I think I need some tea. Now that it's cooled down a bit outside and we're not like baking hot, I'm trying to embrace the autumn vibes. So I'm drinking a Lapsang Souchong tea, which is actually one of my absolute favourites. I like it as much as I like Earl Grey, and I just love the smoky taste. So good. I've shared this before, but I'm really fussy about where I get my tea from. So I get most of it from, I've never heard someone say it out loud, Gilliard's in Bath. I should know how to say that because I've been going there all my life, and so is my mum, because she used to live in Bath when she was younger. And you can order online, and I think you can order online internationally as well. And they're a really good tea place. but it is loose leaf too. Cool. There we go. Right. I will put that down because it will keep falling off as I move. The next thing I'm going to share is some knitted tops. One pattern, but I've knit 2 versions. I'm also going to check this is still recording. Yes, we are. I'm obviously chatting a bit more today because at this point I had finished the whole video, so I've still got a couple to go. So this is a pattern that I knit for the first time a couple of years ago, and it is the Mount Pleasant Tee by Pippin Pin. So I've knit this in Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co limited edition Cheviot yarn and Presley by Garthenor. This is in the colour Butternut. I knit this one first, and the first time I knit it, my ribbing, I'd picked up too many stitches and it just looked not great, so I didn't wear it very much, and eventually I picked up the courage to unpick the neckband and the armholes and do them again. It only uses like 1.5 skeins of 4-ply yarn for my size. So for me it was quite a good project when I was not wanting to spend too much money on nice yarn but still wanted to try things. It was actually the first time I knit lace because you start, it's bottom up, and so if you're afraid to knit lace and you want to try, it is quite a good project to start with because there's only like a couple of inches. And if you go wrong, you can frog it and start again. It's not like you've got to rip back or anything like that. And I think when I did this, I wasn't confident on correcting mistakes or dropping down or ripping back. So I found it comforting to know that it wasn't really that far to start over entirely. And I think I probably only had to start over once. I'm looking and wondering if there is a small mistake there, but it's not visible, so it's not a big deal. And to be honest, after doing this, I realised knitting lace wasn't that hard. It's just knit, purl, yarn over, etc. So I really do recommend. So I knit this one, and then I wanted to knit something a bit softer that I could wear on my bare skin. Now I really like wearing these over a long sleeve stripy top, which is why I like wearing them in the autumn because it's a bit of warmth but not too much, so it does work for me at work in the office. I like wearing them over dresses, skirts. I probably would wear them with what I'm wearing right now but without the straps attached because the straps would interfere with the length and the lace, whereas if I put it on over the straps or without the straps, because the straps are detachable, then the lace would go over my elastic waistband, and that would look quite nice. So yeah, especially maybe this one. I don't know, what do you think? Probably this one would look better colour combination wise with the purple, but I do find this one a little bit itchy on bare skin, and if you could see the t-shirt underneath, I'm not sure that those two yellows go together very well. But yeah, I do really like this. I have not knit many tees. I did knit the Tegna. I haven't worn that one quite as much, and I think it's because it's a bit longer. The shape is a bit different. I think I do really like wearing cropped knits with the things I tend to wear in the autumn, which is mostly dresses and skirts. Whereas weirdly in the summer I was wearing more trousers. I think that's strange. There we go. So that's tops. So then I'm going to do one cardigan and a couple of jumpers. So this is the Minimalist Cable Cardigan by Karina Spencer. I knit mine in Law by the Fibre Company, which I think is a Romney yarn. and it's this wonderful like marl of colours of greens and browns and all sorts. It's got this deep rib cuff which you can fold back if you want to, and I was gifted this yarn for a knit along that I did with Harriet Wildwood a couple of autumns ago, and I really like it. It's a DK weight yarn. The pattern suggests you going up a size for the long version and down a size for doing like a cropped summer version of the cardigan, and she gives some recommendations for another yarn by the Fibre company which I think is more plant fibres for a summery cardigan, and I have every intention of knitting that one at some point because I have some wool cotton blend yarn which I dyed with indigo and I think would make a really nice cropped cardigan. And I really enjoyed knitting this. You knit it in pieces, the two fronts and the back, seam them together and then pick up for the arms, which because it's reverse stockinette you knit inside out. And I found because it was knit in pieces it was quite manageable. You didn't feel like you were knitting a whole huge cardigan. The panels themselves, especially in my size, some of them, you know, they're not very wide, so they're quite easy to do. And it's called the minimalist cable cardigan because it's got this one cable either side at the front and then some moss stitch, and then the rest is reverse stockinette or rib. So it has cables but not very many. It's very manageable, so you get that cable cardigan effect but only having to do 2 sets of cables, which I quite liked. So I thought that was a good one. Because it's DK weight, it's got some warmth to it without being too heavy, so I feel like it is quite good for this time of year, and I can wear it on my bare skin, so that's nice. And now I've picked out 3 sweaters or jumpers as we call them here. One of them I've only just finished, but I think because of its lightness probably does make a very good autumn project. And that's the Lento yarn held together, but it's knit at a gauge, which means you don't need very much of either. So I used less than 2 skeins of the 4-ply and 2 skeins exactly of Surrey alpaca. So this weighs less than 300 grams. It's so light and so drapey, so I think it'd be really good for this time of year. I don't think it weighs very much to put in your bag. It probably wouldn't take up as much space as another jumper because it's so light. So I think it does make quite a good autumn project. And the colours of mine are obviously quite autumnal because I am quite a autumnal person. I knit mine using some yarn I was gifted by a book. No, I wasn't gifted it by them. A knitting friend gifted me the yarn, and the yarn is from Boucle Laine, and I held it with a Surrey from Nervus Fibre. So that's why it's got that variegated look. So my penultimate knit I'm going to share with you is one that I think aesthetically looks more winter, but because of the weight of the yarn, for me it's an autumn knit that I wear. And that's the Alaska Pullover by Camille, a French surname I cannot pronounce, so that will be below. And I knit mine in the Gotland yarn by Fibre Tales. So this is, I think it's 50% her own parents' Gotland sheep and then 50% a local sheep to her, and it's spun in a local mill. I really love Gotland yarn. I don't know what it is about it, but it has like a soft, hairy rusticness, which I absolutely adore. And everything I've knit that has Gotland in, I love. So yeah. But for me, even though this looks quite wintry in its greys and like the cool colours with the trees, the bare trees at the bottom, because it's a heavy fingering light DK weight, I think the pattern is a solid DK pattern though. For me, it's more this time of year. It won't be that long before it's too cold for me to wear this. So I was wearing it a couple of weeks ago before the heat wave came, so I'd imagine I will be getting this out again soon. And the last thing I'm going to share with you is probably one of my favourite knits of all time. It's something that I wear over my pyjamas camping in the summer. I wear over my pyjamas in bed at home in winter when it gets cold. I wear it all the time outside. I absolutely live in this jumper in autumn and winter, and it's the first colourwork project I think I ever did. So this is the Fern and Feather by Jennifer Steinglass. I knit mine in Let Lopi, which has really softened up over time. I really love this colour of Let Lopi. It's like a stony oatmeal. I just absolutely adore it. I can't really wear it on bare skin. It is a little bit itchy around my neck, but I really love how over time the floats have really felted in with each other, and so it's nice and thick around your chest. So this whole area here is like double thickness, and it's just so warm and cosy. I will say when it gets to winter, I can quite happily wear this. I have a Pleated Lopi, Let Lopi cardigan, that over the top, and then something else inside. I'm terrible. But I do really love this project, and so I wanted to share it because for me this is one of my most worn autumn knits and winter knits and all year round knits. But yes, I hope that gave you some inspiration. I really enjoy seeing what other people still love after they've knit them, you know, still wearing time after time. I don't think there's any projects here that I will reknit this year because I'm happy with the ones I've got. But I am thinking now about what I might knit this autumn instead. So I've got a few ideas and I will chat those through with you soon. I will also be uploading my video about my East Wind coat soon. I just need to take some final footage of it. So that's everything I have to share with you today. I would love to hear what your favourite fall or autumn knitting project is. Is it something you've already knit that you're going to knit again, or you've already knit and you wear tons, or you haven't knit yet? Let me know. I'm interested to hear. Thank you. Bye.